and said that this is the last time I will talk to you. This might be the last time I will be able to address all of you together at once. We would surely give our undivided attention to our spiritual leader or political leader because we know them, we trust them, right? And we would understand that the content of that speech is very serious, and the content of that speech should resonate with us after he passes away. And we should pass that message down from one generation to another. My brothers and sisters, we take the Prophet ﷺ as our leader, our spiritual leader. In his last sermon in Hajjatul Wida', the only pilgrimage he performed in his life, he came in front of his followers, about 70 to 124,000 Sahabas, and he addressed them and he said, Ya ayyuhan nas isma'u minni, listen from me, ubayyinu lakum, I will be explaining to you some things. فَإِنِّي لَا أَدْرِي لَعَلِّي لَا أَلْقَاكُمْ بَعْدَ عَامِ هَذَا, because I don't know if I will ever see you after this pilgrimage. And indeed, that was the last pilgrimage of the Prophet ﷺ. So the content, we will quickly go over what he mentioned in that last sermon. First of all, the Prophet ﷺ reminded all of us and said, أُوصِيكُمْ وَنَفْسِي بِتَقْوَى اللَّهِ. I remind you and me, all of us, for the taqwa of Allah, having the conscience of God in every step of your life. And that is probably one of the most basic and fundamental principles in our faith, to have taqwa, to have consciousness of God, to be fearful of God in your dealings with your family, with strangers, whoever you deal with. And the best way we can put what taqwa is what one companion, Ubay ibn Ka'b, he said. Umar radiallahu anhu came to Ubay ibn Ka'b and said, do you know what taqwa is? I mean, obviously Umar radiallahu anhu knows what taqwa is, but just to maybe benefit from what his knowledge, or to maybe see if he really knows what taqwa is, he asked him, what is taqwa? He said, أَمَا سَلَكْتَ طَرِيقًا ذَا شَوْكٍ. Haven't you ever, O Umar, passed by a small alley or a path that had thorns and pricks, and you had to navigate and maneuver and go through that small alley? He said, yeah, I have done so. Bala, I have done so. He said, what did you do when you went through that small passage? He says, شَمَّرْتُ وَاجْتَهَدْتُ. I folded up my sleeves and made sure all my clothing and garments were stuck to my body, and none of these thorns and pricks ripped my body or harmed me. So he said, ذَاكَ هُوَ التَّقْوَى. That, in essence, is what taqwa is. When you make sure that you're not a victim of sins and vice, when you stay away from the maharim Allah, from the prohibitions Allah has legislated in His religion, when you stay away from that, that itself is taqwa, right? And taqwa is the reason why Yusuf alayhi salam was able to stay away from sin with the first lady of Egypt. Taqwa is the reason why that one man from Bani Israel, he asked his cousin who was in need that I will give you this amount of money, and if you offer yourself to me. And taqwa was the thing that led him or gave him the ability to stay away from sin. So that's the first thing the Prophet ﷺ mentioned. The second thing he ﷺ mentioned is that the detrimental effects of interest in our society. He said, وَقَضَى اللَّهُ أَنَّهُ لَا رِبَى. There's no interest in our religion. On an individual level, it leaves your wealth idle and there's no benefit to it. On a state level, sometimes, government officials, they have to give up their resources to other countries because of interest. The third thing the Prophet ﷺ talked about was racism. He said, وَلَا فَضْلَ لِعَرَبِيٍّ عَلَى عَجَمِيٍّ إِلَّا بِالتَّقْوَى. He said, there is no virtue of Arab just because he's Arab. He has no virtue just because he's Arab over a non-Arab. The only thing that differentiates people is their level of piety. Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. One time there was an Ansar and a Muhajir. They got into an argument, and the Ansar, the Sahabi from the Ansar, he called out upon his brothers and he said, Ya Ansar, Ya al Ansar. And the Muhajir, he said, Ya al Muhajirin, Ya al Muhajirin. So each were calling their own tribemen, their countrymen. They're calling them that help me, I am from your people, I am from your country, I'm from here and I'm from there. The Prophet ﷺ heard this and he came out and said, أَتَدْعُونَ بِدَعْوَى الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ. Are you guys addressing one another with the names that belonged in the days of ignorance? You still bring that luggage with you after Islam has come to you? What is this? Calling your brother just because he's from that country, he should come and help you just because of your background? That doesn't exist, right? The person who you should help is the person who is upon the haqq, right? Who is on the right, who is correct. And we are actually very fortunate that we live in a country with diverse background, people from all different backgrounds. We should accept that. We should welcome that. We should enjoy that and live in harmony. And the last and the final thing the Prophet ﷺ mentioned in his last khutbah in Hajjatul Wida was about, it's a rather a taboo subject that not many of us talk about. And that is treatment of women, treating women correctly, with kindness, with good behavior. Allah Azza wa Jalla said in the Quran, وَلَهُنَّ مِثْلُ الَّذِي عَلَيْهِنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. Just like you have some rights upon your women, they also have rights upon you. So in the khutbah, the Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّ لِنِسَائِكُمْ عَلَيْكُمْ حَقًّا. Your women have rights over you just like you have rights over them. And you have taken them as an amana from Allah Azza wa Jalla. So protect and guard that amana. He further on said, خَيْرُكُمْ خَيْرُكُمْ لِأَهْلِ. The best among you is not the one who has millions of followers online or is not a public figure. He said, the best among you are those who are best to their wives. You know, it's easy to be kind when you're outside, easy to be kind to strangers, because you will get some sort of satisfaction when they tell you thank you or when they ask you, how was your day? But it's very hard to be kind to our own family members, our own spouses. The Prophet ﷺ said, I am the best among you to their spouses. So we should take him as a role model and see how he dealt with his wives and the women folk at home. And if we look at incidents in the seerah, in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, we will see how he dealt with his wives. One time, Aisha radiallahu anha says, خرجنا مع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم في بعض أسفاره. We went out with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in one of his travels and trips. While we were coming back, we were in a place called Bayda. حتى إذا كنا في البيداء انقطع عقد لي. I had a necklace around my neck. I lost it. I could not find it. So she said, I went to the Prophet ﷺ and I addressed him and I told him about my problem. The Prophet ﷺ, he halted and stopped the entire caravan. He did not just say, no, this is a trivial matter, we have to move on. He stopped the entire caravan. He said, I have to attend to the need of my wife. And we know our women folk are very passionate about their jewelry, and sometimes it takes months to pick which stone, the right amount of carat they want. So the Prophet ﷺ gave 100% attention to that, and he halted the entire caravan and he said, wait. فَأَقَامَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَىٰ إِلْتِمَاسِهِ. The Prophet ﷺ himself, he started looking for that necklace. And everybody else with him, وَأَقَامَ النَّاسُ مَعَهُ. People also started looking for that small necklace. But there was a problem, there was no water. No one had water and did not have wudu either. So the Sahaba, they went to Abu Bakr and said, Abu Bakr, your daughter is, impeding the progress of the entire caravan. Can you go talk to her? So Abu Bakr, feeling some sort of embarrassment that my daughter is doing this, he went to Aisha, and Aisha radiallahu anha says, فَعَاتَبَنِي Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr reprimanded me, and he made frowned faces upon me, and he was poking me because the embarrassment I was causing him. And the Prophet ﷺ, he was laying down on her lap because he was tired from looking for the necklace and looking around, and he was actually tired. So in the morning, the Prophet ﷺ woke up, there's no water. Now, people are saying, look what happened, because she lost this small, trivial little jewelry, we will have to wait here and salah time is passing, what is going on? So then Allah Azza wa Jal sent down Jibril alayhi salam, revealing the verses about tayammum. And that's when Allah Azza wa Jal rescued them and gave them a substitute for water, where they can perform ablution from a clean element of earth, like dirt and so on and so forth. So we can see the Prophet ﷺ gave complete importance and time and attention to his wife, Aisha radiallahu anha. If you look at other instances, another time when Aisha radiallahu anha, she said in the courtyard of Masjid al-Nabawi, there were some kids playing around, sword fighting with wooden swords. And she said, I was very intrigued and interested in seeing how they fight and keep the score. So she went outside to see this. The Prophet ﷺ, he did not tell her that go back to your room, what are you doing, you're a grown woman, right? The Prophet ﷺ, he let her stand behind him. She said, وَخَدِّي عَلَى خَدِّهِ. My chin was on his shoulder the entire time. Even though he was not interested in this, but just for her, just so that she can have a good time, just so that she can enjoy the view, he did it. Right? Sometimes when we are going in a long drive and there's some scenic routes, and our wives say, can you just stop, take some pictures? What do we say? Do we say we have a long way to go? We just actually stop and pull over so they can take some pictures for social media and whatnot. But anyhow, if we can go on and see numerous accounts and reports of the humility of the Prophet ﷺ towards his wives. One time, the Prophet ﷺ, he entered one of the houses of his wives, and there was some guests there. Some Sahaba came, and it was taking some time for the food to come. So another wife from another house has sent an utensil with some food in it. And co-wives, they had some rivalry and jealousy in between them. So this wife house he was in, she got very mad or jealous, and she hit the hand of the person that brought that food. She was a bit offended. What if guests came to our house and someone else is bringing food and the guests are seeing? That wouldn't be appropriate for any of us. So the Prophet ﷺ, what did he do? He did not get mad. He did not, grab the wife and take her to the kitchen and say, watch when everybody leaves what I do. No, none of that. The Prophet ﷺ, he picked up the two broken pieces. Subhanallah. This was the humility of the Prophet ﷺ. He himself, he picked up the two utensils and he put the food back on that utensil. And he ate from that food and that utensil. And the other one, who this wife prepared, he sent it back to the other wife. So my beloved brothers, what I'm trying to say is that the Prophet ﷺ, he understood women were beautiful and attractive, but also they possess volatile emotions that naturally erupted at times. So he said, "Gharat ummukum," your mother has just some jealousy, and just look over it. It's not a matter. Now the question is, some of us might say that this was the Prophet of Allah, this was the Prophet of God. Give us some examples of people who are not prophets, who did not receive revelation. If you look at Umar radiallahu anhu, one person, he was going to the house of Umar radiallahu anhu one time because he himself, he was arguing with his wife and they were having some heated conversation. So you can say he was going for some couple therapy to Umar radiallahu anhu. So he went to the house. As he went near the house, he heard that Umar radiallahu anhu himself is arguing with his wife. So he's like, man, I came here for advice. This is the same problem going on here. Let me just leave. So while he was leaving, Umar heard footsteps. So he called the man, come back. What happened? What's the matter? Why did you come? So he said, yeah, Umar, listen, I came because I wanted some advice from you regarding my marriage, but I come and I see you having the same problem. So he said, listen, these are nothing. These are small, trivial matters that will happen, inevitable in every marriage. No marriage is 100% compatible. Right? There's no compatibility 100% in any marriage. So he said, I look over all of these small little arguments, and the reason is very obvious. The favor she has on me, when I compare that to the small problems we have, it's nothing. He said, إِنِّي أَتَجَاوَزُ عَنْهَا لِحُقُوقٍ لَهَا عَلَيَّ. I overlook the mistakes, I overlook the arguments, because number one, she is the veil, she is the protection between me and the fire of Jahannam. She is the veil, the protection between me and the fire of Jahannam. If it wasn't because of her, who knows what I would have resorted to in order to fulfill my desires and fantasies. Because of her, my mind and my heart stays clean. SubhanAllah, right? They say that when a man is wrong and he says he's sorry, that's an honest man, right? And a man, when he says he's sorry and is not sure, we call him a wise man, right? And when a man, when he says sorry, even though he's right, he's the husband. You have to just sometimes, even though you're correct, even though you're right, you have to just say sorry and move on. Be kind to them, honor them. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Akrimun nisa," make sure you honor your women. فَوَاللَّهِ مَا أَكْرَمَهُنَّ إِلَّا كَرِيمٌ وَلَا أَهَانَهُنَّ إِلَّا لَئِيمٌ. The only person that respects women is a person who himself is respectable and noble. And the person who disrespects women, he himself must be wretched. He himself inherently has some qualities in him to be able to abuse a woman. And in this day and age, this is very alive. According to the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, every minute there's about 60 calls regarding physical abuse that a person receives from their intimate partner. Every minute there's about 60 calls made in the hotline about physical abuse. One qadi, one judge, he accepted Islam at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. He was in Yemen, but he never met the Prophet ﷺ. So he wasn't a Sahabi, he was a Tabi'i. He moved on to Kufa. He was a judge in Kufa for 60 years. Ali radiallahu anhu said about this man كان أقضى العرب. He was the most just judge of all the Arab. So anyhow, he said that different times people would come to my court with lawsuits and cases against men, and most of these cases was that men hitting, physically abusing their wives. And I was just thinking to myself that how are these men able to do that to their wives? Because when I try to do that, when I try to lift my hand and try to strike my wife, shallat yamini, he said, my hand used to become paralyzed. I don't know how men are able to do that, physically abuse their wives. And it's very discouraged in our religion, and in fact it's prohibited to even go near physically abusing your spouse, whether it's husband to the wife or the wife to the husband. And this is happening in our community. Maybe you yourself know of distant family members or people in the community who stay in a marriage just because of the kids. And I know myself as well, personally, people who stay in that marriage just for the future of their kids. Otherwise, they're in a miserable state. They have nowhere to go to. My brothers, we have to support those spouses. We have to support those husbands or those wives who need help. We have to go out to them and provide whatever support we can provide them with. Inshallah, we have very short time left. We will in a bit look at and delve into a little bit more about how the Prophet ﷺ dealt with his wives. There was only one instance where the Prophet ﷺ was not kind towards his wives. We'll just look at that in a short bit. Barakallahu lana wa lakum fil Qur'an al-azim wa nafa'ani wa iyyakum bima fihi min al-ayati wa dhikr al-hakim. Astaghfirullah li wa lakum wa li sa'il muslimin fastaghfiruhu innahu ghafur. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله بالحق بشيرا ونذيرا بين يدي الساعة. من يطع الله ورسوله فقد رشد ومن يعصهما فإنه لا يضر إلا نفسه ولا يضر الله شيئا. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. Dear respected brothers and elders, mothers and sisters, we're talking about how the Prophet ﷺ was kind towards his wives. And we said there's only one reason why the Prophet ﷺ was stern or strict towards his wife, and that was when it came to the matters of the akhirah, when it came to the matters that had to deal with Allah himself, when they were going against the injunction of Allah directly. One time Aisha radiallahu anha was saying something about Khadija radiallahu anha. She was so and so, and why do you always talk about her? The Prophet ﷺ said, watch your mouth, what are you saying? She was my first wife. She was in my service for a very long time. How can you talk about her like this? One time the Prophet ﷺ asked Zainab radiallahu anha that, can you please give some of your camels to Safiya radiallahu anha? Safiya radiallahu anha, her background, she came from a Jewish background. So Safiya radiallahu anha said, should I give my camels to so and so? And she mentioned about her background, she being a Jew. The Prophet ﷺ was so mad, so offended. He said that if that statement you took, if it was mixed with the waters of the ocean, it would have contaminated all the waters of the ocean. That's how dirty what you have said. And in narrations that come that the Prophet ﷺ did not speak to her for 2 months just because of this, right? And we can look at all different narrations and see that the Prophet ﷺ was very strict. He wasn't lenient when it came to the matters of the akhirah. So brothers, may Allah Azza wa Jal give us all the tawfiq to be kind towards our spouses when it comes to the matter of this world, and be very strict when it comes to the matter of the akhirah. And just a couple of reminders. On this Tuesday, we all know that the midterms are here, the midterm elections. If we as citizens, we are supposed to already register to vote. So if you have done that, go ahead and inshallah participate in the election on Tuesday. And also with us here today is Congressman Peter King. We thank him for being here. We are happy the fact that he has joined our congregation. We make dua that God gives him success in all his political endeavors and gives him success in all his efforts that he's making for the community. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين. اللهم انصر دين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم واجعلنا منهم. اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين. اللهم اهدنا واهد بنا واجعلنا سببا لمن اهتدى. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. عباد الله رحمكم الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. فاذكروا الله الجليل يذكركم ولذكر الله تعالى أولى وأعلى وأتم وأجل وأكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون. أقيموا الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
Please make sure the lines are straight and the cell phones are turned off. استووا واعتدلوا يرحمني ويرحمكم الله. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. ويسألونك عن الجبال فقل ينسفها ربي نسفا فيذرها قاعا صفصفا لا ترى فيها عوجا ولا أمتا يومئذ يتبعون الداعي لا عوج له وخشعت الأصوات للرحمن فلا تسمع إلا همسا يومئذ لا تنفع الشفاعة إلا من أذن له الرحمن ورضي له قولا يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون به علما وعنت الوجوه للحي القيوم وقد خاب من حمل ظلما ومن يعمل من الصالحات وهو مؤمن فلا يخاف ظلما ولا هضما وكذلك أنزلناه قرآنا عربيا وصرفنا فيه من الوعيد لعلهم يتقون أو يحدث لهم ذكرا فتعالى الله الملك الحق ولا تعجل بالقرآن من قبل أن يقضى إليك وحيه وقل رب زدني علما
الله أكبر.
سمع الله لمن حمده.
الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. أفمن كان مؤمنا كمن كان فاسقا لا يستوون. أما الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات فلهم جنات المأوى نزلا بما كانوا يعملون. وأما الذين فسقوا فمأواهم النار كلما أرادوا أن يخرجوا منها أعيدوا فيها وقيل لهم ذوقوا عذاب النار الذي كنتم به تكذبون. ولنذيقنهم من العذاب الأدنى دون العذاب الأكبر لعلهم يرجعون. ومن أظلم ممن ذكر بآيات ربه ثم أعرض عنها إنا من المجرمين منتقمون.
الله أكبر.
سمع الله لمن حمده.
الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. الله أكبر. استغفر الله استغفر الله استغفر الله.
Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. Brothers and sisters, Dr. Hafiz Rahman, member board of the trustees, comes forward to introduce the guest member of Congress, Mr. Peter King.
Assalamu alaikum. May the peace of the Lord be with you all and with our guest. In a few days, it's going to be voting time. And this is the best day in my life and in your life. Why? Because you will be the most powerful person being sought by everybody. Your vote will count. Your voice will be heard. So remember, July 6th, Tuesday, you're going to come out. November 6th. Did I say July? No. November 6th, Tuesday. You're going to come out with dignity, with honor, proudly. You are going to exercise your right to vote, and that vote will count. Get your friends out, get your relatives out, and if there is somebody in there who cannot go to the polling station, put them in your car and take them to the polling station. This is our civic right, and we will all, inshallah, exercise this right November 6th. Honorable Peter King, he's been the congressman from our district. Everybody knows him. You're welcome to the mosque. Our congregation is getting bigger. They are more in tuned into what is going on in the country. We have been hurt and shocked by the incident at the synagogue in Pittsburgh. I felt those bullets pierce my heart personally, and so did our congregants. Hate in any form and shape, hate, no matter in what form or shape it comes, must be not accepted by the common man as well as our leaders. Our leaders must condemn this, and we look forward to that kind of thing. Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, or no matter what hate it is, it should be not acceptable by any standards. There is a lot of election campaigning going on. Peter King has to leave by 2:15. So without any further ado, we will have Peter King address us.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much. It's a privilege to be here. I was here several years ago. I think it was back in May of 2014, and I was well received then, and I appreciate the invitation to come back. Let me be right up front. I know that I've been somewhat controversial in the Muslim community. I think we can discuss that, but I also want to know that I've always said the overwhelming majority by far I've been close with Muslims are good, patriotic Americans. And I think that should be on the record. In fact, in my earliest years in Congress, I was one of the only members of Congress that traveled to Bosnia to support the Muslims against the Bosnian Serbs and the Serb Orthodox. I was both in Bosnia, I was in Kosovo, Pristina, and I always stood by the Muslim community there because I felt that there was an attempt at genocide, extermination of the Muslims from those communities. And also in Croatia to some extent, but more so in the Muslim part of Bosnia. I remember being in Sarajevo with leaders like Salajek, Mohammed Sakabi, others, again, standing with them. And I stood with Bill Clinton when the United States actually got militarily involved in Bosnia and also in Kosovo later on. So I say that just as a bit of background. The issue that I had, merely, I guess, when I was chairman of the Homeland Security Committee, I felt just like when the government was going after the mafia, they looked into the Italian community to find members of the mafia. When they were going after the Westies, which was a brutal Irish gang in the west side of Manhattan, they focused on the Irish American community And I felt just as there were a small number of Islamic terrorists, that they would be in the Muslim community. And I felt it was important for the Muslim community to speak out and appreciate that. Most of the witnesses at my hearings actually were Muslims. Now, a lot of it was distorted, a lot was, I thought, taken way out of context, and I'll be glad to answer any questions you have on that. But I have made it clear that Muslims in this country should in no way be discriminated against. They should in no way be denied any right whatsoever. In fact, during the time I've been in Congress, not as much lately, but certainly early on when they had the no-fly list, there were a number of innocent Muslims who had names that may have been similar to someone who was overseas or someone who was involved, alleged to be involved in some terrorist act. I can't begin to tell you how many families we met with, how many people we met with to make sure their names were taken off that list, because it would be unfair, obviously, for them to be denied the right to fly, or when they come back into the country, the fact that they would be held at customs and questioned extensively. We did all we could to intervene in that and to get it to stop. So there was never a question of discrimination. It was a sense of standing together and fighting against the cause of terrorism, whether it's Islamist terrorism, whether it was the vicious, horrible act we saw against the synagogue last Saturday. And I do really salute the Muslim community, along with others, in coming out to so quickly denounce it, because hate is hate, violence is violence, murder is murder. And it's really as simple as that. As far as the community here on Long Island, I've dealt with a number of leaders in mosques. If they have particular issues, particular problems, I know I work with law enforcement to see, make sure that everything is being done properly and right, and you receive the security and protection that you deserve. And especially after what we saw in Pittsburgh last week, it's essential that any house of worship, and I would say particularly the Muslim community, because there obviously is some discrimination against you, there's no doubt about that, that you would be targeted. So all of that has to be taken into account, and you are entitled to the fullest possible protection, depending on whatever the circumstances are. Now, I am here, I'm not campaigning for office, this isn't the place to do it. I just want you to know that I will always accept your invitations to be here. I've spoken in a number of mosques. I was involved actually years ago with the Islamic Center of Long Island, and they would have particular issues. In fact, even involving Kashmir, I was very involved in that. So again, my focus is on making sure that everyone is treated fairly and correctly, but also that we do whatever we can to find terrorism and criminals and violence, no matter where they are, no matter what community they happen to be in. So with that, why don't I just see if there's any questions at all that anyone may want to ask. I'll be happy to try to answer them.
So we'll entertain a few questions, and before I entertain the questions, let me give a special thanks to our law enforcement people. A big hand for them. They're always here to protect us. They go out of their way to come to the mosque. Since the synagogue incident, you have seen an increase in patrol, and whenever we ask them, they are here. First question, raise your hand. Stand up, please. My name is Farooq. Come up here.
My name is Farooq. I have a question. Our Congressman, Mr. Peter King. If you elected November 6th is Tuesday, what you do for Muslim community? If you elected in the November 6th, Tuesday, in the election, what you do for Muslim people, our community? Thank you.
If I'm re-elected, I'll continue to do what I do all along, and that's whenever anyone from any community, especially the Muslim community, because there are particular problems that the Muslim community would have, certainly as far as whether or not they are on a no-fly list, for instance, whether or not before they intend to travel, I want to make sure that there's going to be no implications for them. I would work with them, same as I do anyone else. If you have any particular issues involving healthcare, involving, well, listen, I don't have to worry about law enforcement because the Suffolk County Police do an outstanding job. But any issues at all that you feel affect your community, I'm there, the same as any other community, whether it's the Catholic community, Jewish community, Protestant community, atheist community, about who it happens to be. I don't think anyone can ever find any instance where I have treated anyone in the Muslim community any differently from any other community. As I say, in fact, back in Congress during the years in Bosnia and Kashmir, I was one of the only members of Congress who stood with Muslim leaders and making sure that even though they were, again, I'm a Christian, but the Serbian Christians were persecuting Muslims. And I come out on the side of the Muslim community, both in Bosnia and in Serbia. In fact, 3 years ago, in the summer of 2015, President Clinton, former President Clinton, asked me to fly back with him for to meet with the leaders in the Muslim community in Sarajevo to see what progress has been made since the war ended over there. In fact, there still is discrimination. There still is tension, even though there's not any kind of all-out war. There still certainly is tension, which affects the Muslim community. And again, I went with President Clinton, and we sat and we met with the people for several days, and that's what I will continue to do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Come up, please. Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum. I have a request with Mr. Peter King. Whatever occurs, any incident happens in New York or in US, but it should not be named as Islamic terrorism. It is a terrorism in any way, but it should not be named as Islamic terrorism. That is my.
But to me, it's just stating the reality. When you have somebody who's a white racist, it's racist. If it turns out to be someone from the Jewish Defense League, it would be Jewish terrorism. And Islam is, let's face it, you do have Al-Qaeda, you do have ISIS, and if people are supporters of them, I think we should point that out, because that's basically how you can trace where it's coming from. It's not in any way saying that all Muslims do it. Anyway, when you say a person is a white nationalist, so you say all whites are racist.
Hello. Yeah, I was really encouraged. First of all, my name is Ijaz Bukhari, and I represent a small group, among this American organization of American Muslim Organization of New York. And I said, my name is Ijaz Bukhari, and I represent a small group called American Muslim Organization of New York. I'm really heartened to hear that you supported the Muslims in Bosnia when there was atrocities being. My question is that those atrocities continue to happen in like Kashmir. Like you see the Indian aggression of about 1 million people, the army is in Kashmir killing innocent people on a daily basis. And the atrocities that are being, that the Israeli forces are taking by taking on the territory of the Palestinians, which they're being suffering. And they're in Syria as well. So a lot of innocent Muslims are getting killed around the world. What is your position on that? And what are you going to specifically take as an action towards it, given the background that you supported the Bosnian Muslims?
Well, as far as Israel, I do support Israel. I do believe the Palestinians have a right to their state. And I've been there a number of times. I've met with Arafat a number of times. I certainly met with the Israeli leaders a number of times. I've been to the Middle East. I meet with King Abdullah in Jordan on a regular basis. So I do believe that, again, there should be a place for the Palestinians. They should be entitled to their state. On the other hand, there's also acts of terrorism carried out against the Israelis. And the only way we're going to end it on both sides until is an agreement. And I do believe there should be a Palestinian homeland. However, at the same time, the Palestinians do have to recognize that Israel is a state, which up until now they have not done. And I think that's important that happen. And again, you do right now have the president is trying to work with Arab leaders in the region, Palestinian leaders in the region. And I believe progress can be made, but I want to make it clear, Israel is an ally of ours. And again, when they carry out something that's wrong, I will say it. But on the other hand, there is terrorism that does go on from the Palestinian side. As far as Kashmir, I had been in the past more supportive of Kashmir. One of the problems is dealing with Pakistan, because Pakistan plays it both ways. And we have, I met with Musharraf, I've been to Pakistan a number of times, and Pakistan in many ways does play it both ways, in that they work with us, but they also give sometimes quiet encouragement to the Taliban. So that's what makes it more difficult. If it was just Kashmir itself and Pakistan was more of an honest player, it would be more easy for us to work with the people in Kashmir. There's no doubt Kashmir is in the middle. There's no doubt the people of Kashmir have suffered. And I've met with a number of people from Kashmir over the years, and I think I know the issue somewhat, not to the extent you would. And I also, again, that is an area though where I used to side more with Pakistan than I do now, because Pakistan has really tried to have it both ways, and that's been a problem. I've been very close with the Bangladeshis. I think that Bangladesh, you find, that is a society in that part of the world which does treat, my understanding, does treat people of all faiths and religions fairly equally. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's the way I've tried to approach it.
Right, but any specific action that you're going to do to stop the atrocities being done on Kashmir people? That's on a daily basis. There's like
Right.
lots of people, lots of innocent people are getting killed, women are being raped, you know, and so that's a genocide right now in action.
Again, it's difficult to do because of the fact that Pakistan is playing it both ways. I have spoken out of Kashmir.
Pakistan,
Well,
I'm talking about Kashmir. I'm
no,
talking
no.
about Indian health Kashmir.
No, but it does have to do with Pakistan, because Pakistan is very involved in Kashmir, as is India. They both are. And there's plenty of blame to go around there. And I have spoken out on that. Yeah.
Last one.
Yes, sir.
Assalamu alaikum, Peter.
That's right, yeah.
Before I ask my question to Peter, the Harlem Islamic Cultural Center has been built, completed, and officially opened. And thanks to this masjid, Masjid Darul Quran was very instrumental in building the Harlem Islamic Cultural Center. On behalf of that center, I say thank you to this center as well. And allow me, please, to give this to Imam on behalf of the center. Imam, Bismillah. Peter.
Yes, sir.
I am so happy to see you back in the mosque,
Good to be here.
in the house of God.
Yes.
Welcome.
Great to be
You
here. Thank
have
you.
come a very long way.
What's that?
You have come a very long way.
Well, I think we all have.
And we congratulate you for that.
Thank you.
And we embrace you. If you see, you and I, we used to have black hair. Now our hairs are white.
Yeah, but you're covering yours with black. So.
Yes, because I'm hiding all the snow. Peter,
Yes.
when I meet my Almighty God, I will be able to tell him, if he should ask me, what did I do for the Palestinians? I will tell him, I gave charity, I sent money, and I encouraged them to fight for justice. When you meet your Maker, the mighty Lord God, who created you, the creator of all mankind, what will you tell him you did in justice, in honesty for the Palestinian people?
I worked for the Palestinian people and the Israelis and all the people of the Middle East to try to bring about a peaceful solution. I had any number of meetings with Arafat. I've had any number of meetings with Palestinian leaders. The fact is, we are going to have a lasting solution and peace. It has to be done in a way where rights on both sides are protected.
Health services to all the people, because the premiums is already going up, and deductible also going up, and it's very difficult now if you have like a chronic disease or something like the heart or the hypertension to be treated on regular basis because it costs too much. Sometimes I'm sick and I can't work with the doctor.
Right, the question was on healthcare, and I'll be glad to try to answer that. I don't have all the answers. Let me tell you the situation we're in politically. I voted against President Obama's plan because I thought it went too far. And as a result of his plan, while many people got health insurance, many people lost health insurance, or the deductibles were so high and the premiums were so high, I think they went up like 105%, it made it really prohibitive for many people. The Republican bill, however, took away much of the good parts of Obamacare also. I think the only answer to it, and I'm not trying to duck the question, is we got everybody in the room the way Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill did, and we take the best parts of Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act, but also make provisions so the middle income people don't get hurt the way they are being hurt now. And also, I don't believe we should have Medicare for all, because I think that would set up a government system which I don't believe would work. I think the way to make it work is to, again, allow the private sector to do what it does best, but also to have the government come in for people who need help, need assistance, or need premium assistance.
One or two plans is you don't have a choice.
I realize that, yeah. And you did, though, before. So that was one of the bad parts of Obamacare. Yeah. Right. And I wish more politicians would realize that. That, yes, Obamacare did help many people, but it also hurt a good number of people. And we have to try to resolve that difference. Unfortunately, right now, the way the parties are divided, it's difficult. But I was selected the most bipartisan member of Congress. So if anyone would like the chance to get it done, it would be me.
Mr. King, just one thing is going to hurt most of us is Mr. Trump trying to prevent that people, if you take healthcare, the poor people, you not be able to get citizen. I hope you stand up for all the little guys. I know he's trying to make an executive order. So if you are depend on Medicaid or any other government services as a poor, and they would not allow to be a citizen in the future. I hope you will stand up for that.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I agree with that, yeah.
With that, we're going to wrap up. Thank you very much again, Congressman, for coming to the mosque. We hope to see you more often here. This is your mosque. This is in your district. You are always welcome. An open invitation. Please do drop in again. Thank you very much again. Big hand for Peter King.
Okay, brothers and sisters, inshallah, this evening, tonight from 5 to 8 p.m., there is a kids' fall craft night from 5 to 8 p.m. And on November 11, family night program of Masjid Darul Quran Beshore. Inshallah, there will be a program of Seerah of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. This will be after Salatul Maghrib, and the speaker is Qazi Fazlullah. Before I make dua for those who have left us, inshallah, just to tell you that ICNA Long Island has a fundraiser on Saturday, 3rd November at ICLI at 7 p.m. Sheikh Nasser Jangda is the speaker. Second announcement, Islamic Relief USA has an annual Long Island dinner program on Sunday, 4th November at 5 p.m. This is for the benefit of the people from Bangladesh who are having low income. Inshallah, after this we will make dua of maghfirah for Hafizur Rahman who passed away in Queens, and also dua maghfirah for Sardar Hussain in Kohat. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive their sins. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them relief, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept their good amal. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasuli Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Allahumma ighfir lahum warhamhum wa nawwir quburahum waj'al quburahum rawzatan min riyadil jannah wa la taj'al quburahum hufratan min hufran niran. Wa sallallahu ta'ala ala khairi khalqi Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.